Hello, this is Hugh and I'm one of the PTE trainers and a content writer for the PTE.com, and I'm going to give you some handy tips on how to do different sections and subsections of the PTE test. So today I am going to teach you how to take care of one of the most difficult items of the reading section, which is reading fill in the blanks. If you know these super methods / grammatical rules, sometimes even without knowing the meaning of a word, you can choose the right answer. Reading fill in the blanks, by the way, contributes points only to your reading overall score. Now, before we get down to business, let's just look at the way a fill in the blanks reading test is made and clarify a few jargons along the way. As you may know, I'm a content writer and I have authored several books, one of which is the PTE practice book, which was published in 2019. So when it comes to devising test items, I can give you an insider's view on the topic. So first, an excerpt or a passage is taken from a magazine or a website. Then the content writer replaces some words from the text with some gaps. These words, which are chosen based on the type of question the content writer wants to make, namely with a focus on grammar or vocabulary, are randomly put in an option box under the text. Next, depending on the number of words taken out, the content writer comes up with some words that look, sound, or have the same meaning as the words in the option box, just to fool the test takers into choosing them as the right choice. These similar words are called distractors. In fact, by looking at the options in the box, as you can see here, you can easily pair the answers and their distractors. Alright, now that you know the basics of the fill in the blanks and the reading test structure, let's talk about the rules that will help you choose the right answer. There are two types of rules. One is related to the words in the option box, and the other is related to the words before and after a gap in the text. Now, rules related to the words in the option box. The first thing that I want you to know is called part of speech. All words in English are divided into 10 parts of speech. However, in this test, you only need to identify 4 of them. These 4 parts of speech, from most frequent to the least one, are noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. Each of these parts of speech has a specific form or sign that lets you recognize them without necessarily knowing their meanings. Once you know these signs, then the test item would be a piece of cake for you. Okay, firstly, we'll start with signs of a noun. Most words that end in the following suffixes are nouns. Secondly, signs of a main verb, not auxiliary ones. Most words that end in the following suffixes are verbs. Also, some words that start with the following prefixes are verbs. Thirdly, signs of an adjective. Most words that end in the following suffixes are adjectives. And finally, signs of an adverb. Now, rules related to the words before and after a gap in the text. So the first thing that you need to do is to look at the words before and after a gap. If, for example, you have the, the, before a gap and of, of, after it, then you need a noun in the gap. So we put a noun in the gap when we have the following words before and after the gap. We use an adjective in the gap when we have the following words before and after the gap. We use a main verb in the gap when we have the following words before and after the gap. And finally, we use an adverb when we have the following words before and after the gap. So now let's put these rules to test by doing some fill-in-the-blanks reading items. Alright, so I'll sign into my account at the pte.com and I'm going to do exercise 666. So remember, spend almost 40 seconds on each gap. So here you've got 4 gaps, so almost 3 minutes would be enough. Well, the first thing you do is to read the options in the box below the text. Then you start with reading the text and paying attention to the words before and after each gap. And always start with the easiest one. You don't have to follow the order of the gaps. Start with the one you are most sure of and work your way towards the most difficult ones. So let's start with the first gap. As you can see, before the first gap, you have belief, which is the subject of the sentence, and after the gap, you have the object. Thus, you need a verb in the gap according to this rule. And since belief is singular, your verb needs to be accompanied by the third person s. Out of the 2 possible answers, triggers is the answer based on its collocation. Gap 2 has an auxiliary verb before it and an object after it. So based on this formula, you need to use a verb in its base form. That is a verb without to, ing, ed or third person s. Achieve is the best answer collocation-wise. Gap 3 has a preposition before and no verb after it. So you need a verb in its gerund form, according to this rule. And willing is the answer out of the 2 gerunds. Remember, asking cannot be the answer since it is usually accompanied by the preposition for. You ask for something. In gap 4, you got have before the gap and no verb after it. So based on this formula, you need a verb in its past participle form. And there is only one such verb among the options, that is accumulated. Easy. Now we move on to the next page. Before the first gap, I have to, which is not a preposition. So based on this rule, you need a verb in its base form, and out of the 2 answer and distractor, bombard is the answer because of the preposition with. You bombard something with something. Next, you have novelty as the subject, and there is no verb after the gap. So you need a verb, and since novelty is singular, you need a verb with third person s, and out of the 3 verbs with the third person s, releases is the answer because of the preposition from. You release something from something else. Now the third gap. Before the third gap, you have and, therefore novelty is the subject of this sentence too, and you need a verb with the third person s as well. And out of the possible answers, forces is the answer. And the reason in gap 4, based on this rule, you need to have a verb in its past participle form, of which there are 2, and the best answer based on the meaning and collocation is exposed. And the last gap. Before the gap, you have the subject, and after it, you do not have a verb. So you need a verb in the gap. This verb should agree with the subject they, which is plural. Therefore, there is only one match for this gap left. For taking part in our online daily PTE classes via the Zoom app, visit our website at thepte.com, where you can book a free trial session with us as well. For more information, visit our website at thepte.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.